Markham likes to make them. He works at Xatrix Entertainment in Santa Monica, California, and is one of the 10,000 estimated game designers in the industry. His specialty? The game called Redneck Rampage, and it's not for the squeamish. It features violence, blood, and various insidious weaponry, and he makes no apologies for it.
The whole fascination with violence in video games is nothing more than an adjunct to what's going on in media and forever. I mean, look back to, Greek plays. You've got guys gouging their eyes out on stage and doing all sorts of wild stuff. It's just, that's pervasive in human behavior, so it's going to manifest itself in everything, including games.
Markham says he believes there is too much debate about the violence, and that the real star is the animation and effects. That is what he says fuels this industry.
This is a lot like the arms race. You've got graphics technology from the hardware manufacturers getting better, so certain developers are going to always exploit that, and they're going to say, hey, look how much more realistic my game is, so you are obliged to keep up with that. If you don't, you're going to get thrown out of the market.
And with this technological wizardry comes new ways to make the experience more graphic and more immersive, from the rendering of the 3D environments to the motion capture of real actors.
Here I get to play anything from the tiniest alien to the biggest, most burly security guard.
Some experts warn this immersive, almost lifelike experience desensitizes people in a troubling way.
You're engaged now as the aggressor. You're engaged as the person who commits the violence, not just someone who watches the violence.
The designers at Xatrix claim this is no different than when they were kids. It's just that the environment has changed.
When I played in my physical space as opposed to my virtual space, what did I do as a kid? I played Army. I had BB guns. I was acting out the same aggressive behavior that all kids do act out. I was just doing it in a physical space.
According to them, it's not what you're depicting, it's how you're depicting it.
We tried to make our violence a little more cartoony. I was a big Warner Brothers cartoon fan when I grew up. I think Chuck Jones is incredibly brilliant, but his stuff was very violent, but in a whimsical kind of a way, and I think we tried to do the same thing.
But making games cartoony doesn't mask the message or make it any less appealing. In fact, some experts say it has just the opposite effect.
There's a good deal of evidence that young children learn better from animation than they do from real-life film, because animation gets rid of all the extraneous variables.
Everybody ready?
These designers are brainstorming. They're focusing on the bigger picture, bigger technology, bigger weapons, and bigger laughs.
But when she's hitting you, we could do like a Three Stooges, boop, on the head every time she smacked you. Yeah, a big bloody rolling pin, yeah.
Somewhere they say there's a humorous side to all of this.
Life is twisted. Just two good old boys trying to get the pig back who's been abducted by aliens. I mean, how serious can you take that?
Designer Drew Markham says to him, humor is not only a part of the fantasy, it's the underlying theme.
It's kind of fun to do stuff that you can only fantasize about. I can fantasize about being on the freeway and wanting to be in a big car with a steamroller on the front of it and roll over all the people who aren't doing what I think they should be doing, but I'm not going to really do that. In a game, we can take out that aggression, and it's a good outlet for it.
Still, there are those who caution that it isn't all a joke. Many experts feel that violent games will inevitably lead to violent behavior.
These video games give people practice in being violent. It's easy, it's comfortable, it's encouraged, there's no other option.
But this limited range of options is a concern not just for critics, but for many game makers themselves, who claim it's an issue of bandwidth, not brainwashing, and say they're hoping to have the technology soon to go beyond violence as the dominant character trait.
When we build a game like this, typically all we do is build aggressive behavior into the enemies because we don't have enough bandwidth to do any more. We're getting to the point where we're going to have the bandwidth to do more behavioral elements in that. And we'd like to introduce this idea of social interaction so that there's a bit of a sense of right and wrong in the game. It's not just kill everything you see.
But beyond the promises, these designers know what sells. And for now, most say they're not going to be making any changes that could affect the bottom line.
Am I pandering? No. But if I want to sell a product, I've got to have a certain amount of, violence and aggressive outlet in there for the person who's paying their $50 to pick this thing up and play it.
And with game development costs pushing $2 million and development timelines nearing a year, it seems unlikely game designers will forego the one trait that so far has proven all but essential to success. Up next, something new in computer games, a special effect that adds more realism to the game. See it in action when we come back.